Ron701 here, and today we're going to be talking about the 60s Cybermen on Face Off. And my question was, what is the best 60s Cyberman story? And of course, the available options were the 10th Planet, the Moon Base, Tomb of the Cybermen, the Wheel in Space, and the Invasion. Tomb of the Cybermen coming in with a disappointing but not surprising win here with 41% of the vote. The Invasion coming in second place with 34% of the vote. Then we had the Moon Base with 14% of the vote, the 10th Planet with a very surprisingly disappointing 8% of the vote, and the Wheel in Space getting a minuscule 3% of the vote. We had 185 votes at the time I am recording this. For me, the answer would be the Invasion. I do think the Invasion's the best one. I know the Cybermen only show up in the second half, but judging it as a story, I think it's just a phenomenal story. It fills out its 8 parts well. It never drags for me. The animation for episodes 1 and 4, I think, is really good and holds up, even though it's almost 20 years old. I like Kevin Stoney as Tobias Vaughn. I also like the guy playing Packard. I think they're both doing a good job playing those villains. I love having the Brigadier back in it. It's also the introduction of Corporal Benton in it. I like the location work. I enjoy the set design. I love Vaughn as a human villain. He does a really good job as a human antagonist. And then we have the iconic location work of the Cybermen coming out of the sewers and walking around the town. I'm assuming that's in London. And that looks really good. They're defeated perhaps a little too easily, but I do really enjoy the story. I think it comes together well. Whereas Tomb I also like, but I do tend to find Tomb a little overrated. I think Tomb gets a little too much credit because it's the only Cyberman story from the 60s that's complete, which does make it a great entryway into the second Doctor's era for fans, being a Cyberman story 4-parter that's complete. But I feel like if the Invasion was complete, I feel like it would be ranked higher than Tomb. I feel like Tomb gets some credit for being the only complete 60s Cyberman story. So I wasn't surprised it won here, but I was a little disappointed it won here. So let's see what you guys had to say about it. Sir Meows a Lot says, sure, just casually ask an impossible question. Is there an all the above option? He says, a tough choice, but for me, I'm going to have to pick the 10th Planet. He goes, that's right, even over Troughton. For shame. I just love that original design, and I do love the Cybermen design in 10th Planet and the voice work. It's better than anything else in the 60s, aside from the design of the suits from the Invasion. I love the Invasion outfits. That voice will never be topped. So many great lines from the Cybermen. Best Cybermen. Also, I really enjoy the episode. The first part with the astronauts grips my attention every time. Bluey and Glenn, I believe. They are all amazing stories, though. I recently watched Tomb, first time in 3 years, I believe. Loved it even more than I remembered. Invasion is amazing. Moonbase, great. Even Wheel in Space, I enjoy the 2 surviving episodes and the cut-down animation of episode 1. Tedious Milkshake says Wheel. They're all pretty much evenly split, but Wheel Part 1 is so good I just had to vote for it. Richard English says, I've droned on at tedious and possibly even painful length about this in the past, but it has to be Tomb. I get the criticism that it's 2 episodes of waiting for the Cybermen to show up, and then another 2 of them getting to go back to sleep again. But it's got such a wonderful atmosphere and energy to it. The dialogue is crisp, but the regular and guest cast are engaging, dodgy accents aside. The direction is tight, and as a result, it's exciting, creepy, imaginative, and thought-provoking. In other words, quintessential Doctor Who. Sentai Ryder says, Tomb of the Cybermen for me is it shows just how desperate they are to survive. They freeze themselves in the chance they'll be found by convertible humans. For me, I have to say the Invasion. I might be unpopular for that, but I just love the Invasion. I'm right there with you, Paul. Paul actually runs his own Doctor Who YouTube channel as well. It's very good. The build-up to the Cybermen coming out off the sewers is iconic to me. Plus, the unit are really epic in this story. Cody W1, who also does Doctor Who videos, very good Doctor Who videos, says Invasion for me, and then Moonbase. Aaron of Yale says, not only is the Moonbase my favorite 60 Cybermen story, it's one of my favorite stories of all time. Invasion takes second place in this poll. 5SSS says, I feel bad for Will, so I voted for it. Not really that bad, to be honest, but not my favorite. Jeremy Duncan says, Invasion is a good outing for the Cybermen, but the resolution is so anticlimactic. That's why I prefer the Moonbase. That's fair. Nikayako says, without a doubt, Invasion. I agree. Bobby Frackle says, tough one between Tomb and Moonbase. Moonbase edging it, I think. I prefer Moonbase over Tomb myself. Dom, always good to see Dom back, says Tomb, but barely, and to be fair, only because Troughton pushes it just slightly ahead of 10th Planet. Wish we'd get Cybermen stories as good as their 60s ones again, although there have been some good ones since then as well. I still quite enjoy the Age of Steel two-parter. I do as well. That's a good two-parter. Michael Hickerson says it's Tomb. Shamrock Particle says 10th. Solid introduction and sells the idea of beings replacing biological bits with bionics brilliantly, even if the Mondos planet has an outboard motor and they're puttering through the galaxy and coming back to Earth for a recharge. That's nothing. Moonbase nails the tone, but even by mid-60s standards, the lapses of scientific basics known by general audiences at the time hampers it, plus their emotional boasting is a turn-off. Tomb suffers from too much melodrama in some lines, such as Captain threatening the Doctor with her basic assumption of how everything yields to logic, and emotional Cybermen, they proudly salute the controller, once again show themselves as not being emotionless. Wheel is simple but fun, maybe a tad long, and the number of outline schemes, steps, is a tad overdone. Invasion is the Tobias Vaughn story, but defeating Cybermen by breaking their emotional circuit is rather novel. Hudson Media, why does Tomb still win these days? I think it's a fun romp without a shadow of a doubt, but the Invasion, the Moonbase, and the 10th Planet are far better Cybermen stories. That's what I'm talking about, Hudson. That's what I'm talking about. And I jump in here and says it's because it's the only one that's complete. That's honestly the only reason, in my opinion. The Invasion and the Moonbase are better stories easily. And then he said, I couldn't agree more. The Moonbase is my personal favorite. It would be so nice if we had all the episodes recovered. And then I added, yes, I would love to get Moonbase and Invasion's missing episodes back. That would make my day. I'd love to get just one of each back. It would be so nice. So there we have it. Tomb of the Cybermen winning at 185 votes. Tomb of the Cybermen winning at 41%. The Invasion at 34%. Moonbase at 14%. 10th Planet at only 8%. Very surprising. Wheel in Space with 3%. So if you didn't get a chance to vote in this poll, comment down below and let me know which one of those 60 Cybermen stories is your favorite and why. Don't forget to click the like button as well and the subscribe button. I also have a Patreon if you would like to support me on that. There is a link to that down in the description below. I want to give a shout out to a couple of my top tier patrons, Colin Coney and Perkins. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. It's much appreciated. I also have a P.O. box down there if there's anything you'd like to send me to look at and review. A link to my Amazon wish list is down there. A link to my Amazon UK wish list is down there with several things on it. I've added some of the standard edition collection range releases I'd like to get to have on the shelf, because I love my shelf, and all that fun stuff. Most importantly, thank you for watching.